Okay, so this weekend, we're going to start working on the exhaust. I got these little jigs from SS Customs. Found them on Facebook. Anyway, they make these are just 3D printed little jigs. This one is for X pipes. And you set your 90 in, put the jig on, and you can clearly mark, once you get it in there and centered, which is a little hard with one hand, you can mark what you have to cut for the center of the X pipe. So I just took and cut it with the death wheel and then put it on the belt sander, the 6-inch wide belt sander, and evened it up until it was right on the line. I'll do the second one. I'll show you how they made up. And there you have it. This thing works pretty good. Makes a perfect oval on there. You can do this a number of ways, but I kind of like that. And just grind it flat. Now I can tack, once I get the ends cut to the proper lengths, I can tack that together and it'll be ready for weld. But yeah, that makes a nice tight joint. I'll deburr the inside of that, obviously. But yeah, not too bad. Too bad at all. So yeah, I don't have my drawing up here right now for what this is supposed to be, but I knew I had to make the X pipe out of those 290s. Now this one here is just for cutting angles. You can feed in a piece of pipe and feed it into this stop, which is movable here in the center. Right now it's set to 45 degrees, but there's like a little T-bar that comes out. Hang on. There you go. And you can just set that at whatever angle in multiples of 10 or 45. So you slide your pipe in, you mark it. You can even set this into a bandsaw if you want to cut it, and just use this edge as a guide. I don't know how effective that would be, but that's one of the ways I've seen people use them. So again, this is for making, the shorter arcs that you're going to need. I got some 40s I need. I got some 10s, small pie cuts, and yeah, that'll work out pretty good. So I'll get the drawings up here and start working through the fitment, get this where it needs to be, the length right on these ends. But yeah, so far so good. Okay, I've been fooling around with this X pipe. I had some weird results. I ended up having to lay out lines on my bench here to try to get everything laid out properly. And I think I finally got it. The angle on these guys, so the surface of this to the face here or here is actually pretty critical. So I had to finesse that a little bit. I got that squared away. It's fine now. But that's what was throwing me off. So I've got some pieces I can tack together, but I want to get the fronts done first, and then I'll tack that X pipe together. My friend Bobby's coming down, hopefully next weekend, to give me a hand welding this all up. But I've also put some, just clamped some braces in, spaced down a ½ an inch under the frame, because I don't want the exhaust to go down any more than the ½ an inch below the frame. So I also spent some time rebuilding that cross member so that it has C-channels cut in it. I reinforced the top of it, welded it all up, then cut the C out, plated the face below it. It's plenty rugged now. I'm not worried about that at all. But that did take some time. It took almost a whole day of fooling around with that. But I'm ready to start fooling around with this. So that's kind of where I'm at. Now, I've got to work out the location coming down off the headers now. and get that sorted. But I know the width of the headers, roughly, it's like 20.5 center to center. So I'm gonna lay that out on the bench, then I'm gonna work in my flex pipes, the flex joints into the X pipe, and I will lay out the rest of it after that. So that's kind of my plan. I'll bring you back when I got something interesting. Okay, so I started tacking this together a little bit. Using these clamps. They're by Icy Engine Works or Ice Engine, I don't know. Tack welding band clamps. They're kind of neat. They clamp onto the one pipe, then you clamp a little higher on the other one and pull it down and it on that slide, and it does pretty good once you get it lined up. You just got to put a little witness mark, like you can see right here. I put a little witness mark in there, and then I can go ahead and tack it. Now, my biggest concern is just not embarrassing myself in front of Bobby with my tacks, but I think I'm okay-ish. But I'm gonna get this tacked up, and then I'll start working on the front half of the X pipe, and we will go from there. All right, so here is the X pipe. The thing that's a little tricky about this is the motor is offset 1 inch to the right. So, you know, all this is nice and linear and uniform back here, but up here, it has to be a little different on each side. So anyway, I got it lined up right. Everything looks really good. I'm pretty happy with that so far. Probably gonna slide it back just a little bit more. But yeah, I'm gonna tack that. Then I'll add the flex joints on both sides. And then we'll get it up to the header, or pipe it down from the header, or however you want to think about it. It's gonna be from the header. Then I'll start working on the back. Fabrication is taking a lot longer than I had expected on this, I gotta tell you. So I'm glad I did this pre-work, and rather than having my welder standing around waiting for me, I can have this all tacked up and ready for him pretty quick. But anyway, that's the next step. I'm gonna just tack those 2 pieces on. You can see I still have the clamps. Those are working really good. Do yourself a favor. When you cut this thin tubing, use a big pipe cutter. Don't bother with the chop saw. Pipe cutter is making a much squarer, much nicer end. So pretty happy with that too. So anyway, gonna pull that out, tack it, then we'll come back and start working forward. So this has been exhausting. So I'm pretty much where I wanted to be. This, I bet I had those V-band clamps up there off 12 times yesterday. But I got the front where I want it now. I moved the flex joints ahead a little bit. This whole thing comes back pretty nice. I figured out last night as I was in the house sitting around thinking about this, if I had done this the way I wanted to, I wouldn't be able to get this exhaust out of the car once the body's in it. So I put a bell joint here to, slip over that. That way I can separate the X pipe from these 2 little kickers back to the mufflers. And then that way I just separate it right there, and I can pull everything out from under the car. And that's fine. So now I'm at a stage where I got the mufflers just kind of sitting in there, ready to go. Now I've got to come out. I've got to straighten back out. So I kicked in 10 degrees. Now I got to straighten back out 10 degrees. Come out a little bit, come up this way, and then follow the frame rail back. So I'm going to come straight out the underneath and over this way. So that's kind of where I'm at. This has been a struggle. I had it all planned out what I needed to do, but it was a matter of, you know, the 45s and stuff, you know, come with a section of straight pipe on either end of it. So you're not just cutting the little pie piece out. So now it's a matter of figuring out what's your best usage for this flat section at the end of the bend. So I think I've got it pretty well sorted at this point. The drive shaft's going to be tight. That's going to be here Tuesday. I'll be able to put that in and make sure I've got proper clearance on that. It's going to be close, really close. So I may have to adjust this a little bit more based on what I find there. But, you know, I knew it was going to be close, but I just don't know how close. So it does ramp up quite a bit. So this rear end housing is down as far as it can go right now. So hopefully everything clears, but we'll see. But we're getting there. Like I said, I've just been tacking it till Bobby can come down and weld it up permanent. Only a couple mistakes on my tacks, so not so far so good. And I think this will work out. I'm going to continue on out the back right now, and we'll figure out the drive shaft clearance. I wish I had like a piece of 3-inch PVC pipe or something I could throw in there just to see, you know, the alignment, but I don't have anything like that. So anyway, I'm going to keep moving forward, and we'll see what we get. Okay, so I've got everything fit up. I threw in a piece of exhaust tubing as an example of a drive shaft for now. I basically, again, threw another support underneath the frame just to keep everything at the same height, side to side, and that seems to be working pretty well. Then I just spaced it down with some blocks here at the end. I'm going to put this up on the lift next and just look at it from the bottom perspective and make sure nothing's crazy. I mean, the offset on the rear end's pinion is obvious, but, you know, that's to be expected. Yeah, I think it's looking okay. Feeling pretty good now. This took a while. This was a pain. But I do have to come off about another 5 inches. I'll probably just put it on about 6 or 8 inches out the back here, so that when I get ready to cut the body for the exit pipes, I'll have plenty of room and I can trim these off after. So that's probably next. But like I said, I'm gonna lift this up, just take some measurements, make sure I got all the clearances I think I have. But so far so good. This came out pretty decent. You know, of course, the motor's offset 1 inch to the right, pinion's off a couple inches to the right. So other than the angle of the drive shaft, everything else seems pretty good. So pretty happy with that. I've also figured out that my tie downs on my rear end will not work right there, so I got to take those back off. That was a great idea that failed. So I have to find a different place for those, or relocate them, or just eliminate them. I'm not sure yet. But anyway, this is looking pretty good. Like I said, it took me solid 2 days to fabricate this, just cut and tack. And a lot of it was spent up front because there's some odd angles. You'll notice those headers tilt in a little bit as they come down. That makes it a little interesting. The right side seems to tilt in a little more than the left. But anyway, I'll show you what I got when I get it up in the air. So from the underside, this looks pretty good. Everything is tucked up in nice. I've got it no more than a 1/2 inch below. I feel like these are downhill a little bit right here. They're incredibly even. They're perfect that way. But I think I've got to draw up the back, maybe pull that up 1 inch. If I pull up the tails 1 inch, that'll lift the back of the mufflers a bit, and I think everything will fall right into it. I've got them down about 2.5 inches right now. below the frame. I'm gonna have to cut exits in the body anyway. I knew I was gonna do this, planning on doing that for the exhaust tips. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'll lower this back down, take out 2 blocks of wood, get it back up that full inch, and then reclamp it, and then I'm gonna add the 6-inch tailpipes on each side, just to give it enough exit room, and then I'll start working on the brackets. Okay, so if you can see through all this mess, this is kind of where I've ended up. I've got a bracket right there that'll hang down beside the frame rail nicely. I'm thinking about putting another bracket up to here, just picking up that point, but I don't know yet. They're kind of close together at that point, but it's the only real place I can put one. And then I've got to put one more at the front of the mufflers, which I don't have, so I need to order another one. I want to put one down into here, from here, and screw through that. I've got the ones tied to the cross member up front, there. Haven't tacked these in yet, but I will next time I get set up to do them. So yeah, I'm pretty close here. I think that'll wrap up this particular segment. The exhaust seems to work well. I've messed around with the clocking on those mufflers a little bit. I got plenty of room. I can move stuff around if I need to gain a little more drive shaft clearance. But everything looks like it's going to fit beautifully. So that's about it. This was a lot more work than I thought. It was fun. It was rewarding, but some of this pipe work is just a real pain. The clamp system that I had, I know I showed you already, but the clamps that I had worked really good for doing for clamping tight bends. So if you had a bend, that you basically put this section on the straight part, this section on the bent part, and you pull it in and tighten everything up, and it clamps very nice. This does not work for shit on straight pipes. So if you got straight butt joints, use something like this. Now, I just went and bought a regular band clamp and drilled a few holes in it, but you can buy these clamps with, slots cut in them and all kinds of fanciness, but for $10, that's a easy way to go. And then you just clamp the 2 butt sections together and tack weld through the holes. Pretty simple and a cheap solution. So yeah, so now, like I said, I've got a few more things. I gotta get a couple more brackets, but the tails are on. That should be a adequate length for what I need to do, and I can trim them to the proper length once I get the body on and the tail, the exit pieces all worked out. So yeah, that's basically it. I think it came out pretty good. Pretty happy with that. Hopefully I like the sound of it and it's not driving me right out of the cab. Anyway, I do have to modify that cross member a little bit more. On the left side, I've got just make a little more clearance on the cross member. But, that's the other one fits perfect. That one, it's a little too far to the left. Again, I didn't really account for the angle that it's coming towards the drivetrain. My bad. But anyway, everything else is looking good. I think this will work out nicely. Like I said, I think I'm going to put another bracket in here. Just put a bolt hole in this, pick it up to that. Done. That way, any extra weirdness going on out back here won't affect anything. I've still got about a 1/2 inch more clearance on the drive shaft of the muffler. The drive shaft itself is a 1/4 inch bigger diameter, so it's going to be tight, but again, this is all the way down, so I think I'm okay. Worst case is I'll modify that muffler a little bit to gain some clearance on it, but just heat it up, and similar to what I did on the header up front. No big deal. So I think I'm going to go and get this published, get it sorted out, get it posted tonight. This was a lot of, like I said, a lot of futzing around, trying to get the angles, cut the proper pieces. You know, so I come up with a 40-degree up and then a 40-degree back here, then 10-degree out and 10-degree back in to get it going parallel again, then 45 up, 45 back, 45 up, 45 back. Yeah, so, you know, it's a lot to it, getting it just right. So anyway, I think this will work. Pretty happy with it. It ought to sound good. Ought to sound pretty good. But these are the Boiler Pro XS mufflers. You know, nothing too crazy. They're fairly affordable muffler. They're not stupid money, but they're not crazy loud either. So it seems like the louder they get, the more expensive they are, which I can't really understand. But anyway, I will spend some time cleaning up here, shutting stuff down. And I'll get back to this again next weekend. But overall, everything fits. It's coming together pretty good.